Good morning. I'm Ryan Levy, Senior Consultant with the Doral Ethical Advisory Network.
And I'm Adriana Arce. I'm also a Senior Consultant, and I'd like to thank the Board of ETP for inviting us back to discuss the ethical issues surrounding the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline.
As you know, your company has faced recent backlash with your operations in North Dakota. This has left you shrouded in controversy. Recent protests by the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has created a negative public backlash and has raised some serious ethical questions as to your company's operations in the region. We believe that in order for your company to grow compassionately within the market, it is essential that you take a holistic approach to appreciating the relationships that any successful company is founded on. So what does this look like? First of all, you have obligations to your shareholders that you must strive to fulfill. Next, you have a comprehensive approach to managing the relationships that a company is founded on. Also, you must take an acute dedication to upholding the values of environmental justice. And also, an expansion of your organizational ethical code is vital for sympathetic growth in your company. First of all, I would like to address your responsibility to your shareholders. Your shareholders are a vital group, and they represent a prime interest in your company's decision making. Without proper risk management in your company's decisions to develop, you will neglect this shareholder group in a manner that leaves them unaccounted for. The shareholder group represents the leading interest in your company's development, and any failure in including them in the decision-making process will be a failure in your company as a whole.
One of the major issues that has caused negative backlash for your company and damaged their public reputation is accusations of environmental racism. The concept of environmental justice essentially maintains that all people, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or country of origin, are equally entitled to access to environmental amenities and should equally shoulder the burden of environmental threats such as landfills or pipelines. As it stands now in the United States, race and wealth are the two strongest predictors of a person's likelihood to live in an area that has contaminated air, water, or soil. Native Americans in particular are vulnerable to these sorts of environmental injustices. Though they only represent 1.7% of the population in the United States, they shoulder a disproportionate amount of these environmental burdens. Their poverty is at double the national average at around 28%, and their unemployment hovers at 49%. In order to understand why your stakeholders react so strongly to the decisions that your company makes, you must understand the concept of environmental injustice and the fact that these underrepresented groups are particularly vulnerable to these sorts of threats. Patterns of behaviors such as your company's decision to reroute away from Bismarck's water source and instead move underneath Lake Oahe, which is the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's main source of drinking water, reflect positively on your company's ability to uphold the values of environmental justice.
Now that we've recognized these issues, it is imperative that your company takes steps to develop the essential relationships with the community that you operate in. It is vital that your company include the voices of concern over the operations that you take part in. These positions of dissent and growing opposition in the market have placed you in a precarious situation within the industry. It is valuable to effectively appreciate the requirements and the needs of those that you serve. By respecting dissent and taking a compassionate approach and including the voices of concern into your company's decision-making process, you will be able to effectively grow in a manner that responds in a proactive way to the needs of the communities that you serve. And this involves creating and establishing a network that includes those voices in order to mitigate the risk of potential backlash in the future. But instead of driving these groups out into the public eye where they could pose a potential risk down the line, it will be more beneficial for your company to create a network that engages with them directly and gives them an avenue to express themselves in a manner that's productive for both parties. And one of the key steps to this is allowing for effective change to take place in response to the understanding you gain from these relationships. The relationships must be founded on a basis of mutual compassion. Your company must take steps to effectively respond to the concerns of the populations that you are affecting.
So what has your company done to mitigate these sorts of stakeholder conflicts? Currently, your company's stakeholder engagement program is summarized on one tab of your website and amounts to less than 300 words. It focuses on landowners, and not once does it mention Native American communities or other local communities that may be affected by your pipeline. Furthermore, it hasn't been consistently upheld, as we've mentioned yesterday in our previous presentation. Amongst other shortcomings, it was created February 6th of this year, while your company has experienced or has heard the dissent from stakeholders since April of last year. This type of reactive behavior is typical of crisis management, and our solution aims to move your company's mentality away from crisis management and towards stakeholder engagement, which is more effective in promoting positive community interactions. Crisis management leaves your company vulnerable to the reactions of stakeholder groups. When they feel that your company isn't willing to listen to them and their concerns, they will find a public media outlet or a worldwide news outlet that will listen to their concerns. This doesn't allow your company to take control of your public image and your reputation. On the other hand, stakeholder engagement is consistent and it's regular. It's an everyday part of your company's operations, which allows your company to be prepared to act and anticipate problems before they arise and before they become national headlines. Stakeholder engagement allows for inclusiveness and interaction with your communities that give you valuable information that allows your company to thoughtfully develop projects in the future. Crisis management, on the other hand, since you're only willing to interact with your stakeholders once an emergency has already arisen, creates hostile tensions and doesn't allow for effective communication between stakeholder groups.
Any reaction to neglecting these valuable stakeholder groups will always be too little too late. It is essential that your company take a position of creating a proactive approach that is capable of responding to the concerns of the communities that you serve. Our New Leaf initiative takes steps to situate your company in the market in such a way that places you in a greater context of the communities that you serve and allows you to develop the essential relationships that foster your company's success. Steps such as better situating yourself in the market of U.S. domestic oil production, creating steps to foster the sustainable growth of the U.S. energy market, places you in a position to understand the community that you serve. You're providing energy for people. These communities respond to the steps that you take into the operations of your company. And any opposition that takes place outside of your company and affects you negatively, any backlash that's out in the public eye, any backlash that is not included in your engagement with these communities will always come back to affect you and will affect any development of your growth in the future. Without these comprehensive steps, to include opposition within your company's development, you will be neglecting the voices of concern that your company is just founded on. By reacting to the issues once they've taken place, you are already behind the game. You need to understand proper risk management before the issues arise. This is vital for shareholder management, for community engagement, and building the overall relationships that allow you to foster progressive growth in your company.
Thank you.
Thank you.